Yes, we have a winner!
Too proud to show your true face, eh? What a sporting hunt it was.
Man, I play too many hard games. No, that's too hard. I need to get through something easy, something short that I can finish in a night. Zapper is... Zapper is... What the fuck is Zapper? According to my research, Zapper was released in 2002 by Blitz Games. Blitz was known for a couple of original titles, including Glover, but since then they've focused their efforts on tie-in games and what can only be described as shovelware, including some games for Nickelodeon, Bratz, and oh my god, they made the Burger King games. There's a lot of information available on the studio, but as for Zapper, there's next to nothing. As far as I can tell, Zapper is 1, he's wicked, and he's a cricket. He's also a rugged individualist, outdoorsy type, cynical, physically fit with springy reflexes, into avoiding trouble and self-defense using electrified antenna. Yellow. Looking for adventure with right person. I don't get it. But it promises only 18 levels, so this seems like it's the short and easy game I'm looking for. There's nothing too apparently special with the title screen. The real treat is if you hold R, you can smush Zapper's face. Is there a reason? Not really, but people liked it in Super Mario 64. The game starts with Zapper and his larval brother watching TV. The signal cuts out, so Zapper uses his brother as a makeshift antenna, as we've all done at some point in our lives. After holding him out the window, an escaped criminal kidnaps him. Now let's talk about this cutscene. I want to explain to you why it's genius. It's fast-paced and fairly well animated. It introduces every main character with a taste of their personality, explains the setup of the plot, gives the main character a motivation, and even gets a couple laughs. It does all of this without saying a single word. In a minute. I mean, the story isn't all that complex, just a typical damsel in distress, but with a dude. But every part of this cutscene just makes me believe that it was thought out and planned in order to set up the game, rather than being thrown in just because games have cutscenes. We start the first level, and this is not what I was expecting. When I bought this game, I was expecting some obscure 3D platformer like Glover that Blitz has done before, but Zapper is a lot more reminiscent of games like Pac-Man and Frogger. In fact, it's exactly like Frogger. More specifically, Frogger 2, Swampy's Revenge. The entire game takes place on a loose grid and you can hop 1 or 2 spaces. You collect fireflies and your primary goal is to stomp on the 6 eggs left by this gross monster in every level. But like I said, the core gameplay is just Frogger. Hop on a grid and avoid traps. I was about to scream ripoff, but then I learned that Blitz Games actually developed Frogger 2. And you know what? I think Zapper was supposed to be Frogger 3. It really makes sense when you think about it. The core gameplay is so similar and the studio did the last game in the series, then you realize that Zapper is a pretty damn big cricket. Look at Zapper compared to these squirrels, or this lumber, or these snails, or these people, or this spider. Alright, the scale isn't all too consistent, but for the most part I would say that Zapper is frog-sized. My assumption is Blitz was hired to make Frogger 3, they got really far in development when the license fell through, tossed a new coat of paint on the project, and out popped Zapper. This wicked cricket has a couple of moves he can do. The control stick or D-pad makes him hop in a certain direction, A makes you jump 2 spaces and hop over small gaps, B is a weak attack to activate switches and take out certain enemies, L and R change the direction you're facing, Y shows you the direction the nearest egg is, and X lets you make cricket noises. I'll be honest, I never found a use for this. Level 1 is pretty straightforward, lots of tutorials, every basic mechanic introduced, and a couple secret areas to discover. Here we learn that every level has 100 fireflies. What happens when you collect them all? Well, I'll get to that later. And I gotta mention the funky tunes here. Level 2 is much the same, just a little shit. It's a little bit, god damn it! It's at this point I realize I made a mistake. I bought the GameCube version. Zapper's controls are incredibly sensitive, and since the whole game is 4 directions and grid-based, it makes much more sense to use the D-pad instead of the analog stick. Unfortunately, the D-pad on the GameCube controller seems like it was built for tiny, stubby fingers, and attempting to use it is uncomfortable and often results in pressing 2 directions at once. It's the one flaw in an otherwise perfect controller. Level 3 makes me realize my next mistake. Zapper is fucking hard. The game moves at such a frenetic pace, and positioning and flow are so important. This is such a simple concept, but mastering it is a nightmare, especially with this controller. Zapper is not the easy game I was looking for, but it's still short. I can do this. And then, he was just cut right in half. I don't know if I can go on.
Well, it sounds like you have to stop being such a little bitch.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
I'm gonna be sick.
So you may be wondering what happens when you collect all 100 fireflies in a level. Well, we're almost there, just gotta get one more and damn it! Oh, game over. Let's bring up another thing about Zapper. It's generous enough to start you off with 20 lives, but by God, they go fast. One hit, you die. One wrong move, you die. There's also very little punishment for a game over besides restarting the level, so if you enter a level with too few lives, you can just hop off the ledge to force a game over and start back with 20. Alright, so now let's check out what happens when you get all 100 fireflies. If you manage to find these extremely well-hidden bugs, you get to enter a pretty cool-looking bonus. Well, fuck. Let's try again. Or not. You get one shot at these bonus levels. If you die once, and that's incredibly easy to do, you get booted back to the world map and have to collect them all again. That's low, Zapper. That's low. You came to the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker. Zapper actually has a surprising variety of interesting levels. You go through ponds, forests, boneyards, volcanoes, valleys, laboratories, and even a train. A train that comes equipped with a barbecue cart and a... It's time I mentioned another frustrating feature of Zapper. I said that it all takes place on a grid, but it also kind of doesn't. There's a definite grid throughout the whole thing, but not everything is square. There are curves, some spaces are bigger than others, and some spaces are small and don't look like you can fit. It leads to a lot of confusing areas and frequent under or overshooting jumps, which further adds to Zapper's immense difficulty. Level 10 is probably my favorite level of the game. You go to a lab where the grid is actually all square, and instead of extremely fast-paced platforming, it slows down into solving some actual challenging and fun puzzles. I think the game would have been much stronger if there was more of this and less of this. Let's head into Pipeworks, and what the hell is this? This gameplay change-up came right out of nowhere. Every single level has been the same, but just here we're playing an endless runner in a tube. It somehow also manages to be the easiest level in the game. It endlessly loops, and you can skip the eggs if you miss some fireflies. Looks like we're going to get another shot at the bonus level. Let's bring it on, damn it. I need a funk break. We've conquered the woods, the water, the desert, and the city. It's time to get our baby brother back. What comes next is one of Zapper's strongest levels, underlined by some kick-ass music. This level is a bit more straightforward than the rest. Each area takes place on a simple grid where you have to get the fireflies in the right order. Each grid is essentially the same, but the puzzle changes up every time. After stomping all the eggs here, and by God, how many eggs did this lady lay, we finally get to fight the highly fertile criminal masterfuck. And it's kind of disappointing. The entire game has been relentless, soul-crushing, ball-busting difficulty, yet the final boss is pretty short and very easy. I still died a few times, but hey, one-hit death. Just avoid her projectile abortions, dodge her beak smash, and shock. We take her down.
Hey, I'm back.
She gets sent back to prison, and we finally save our baby brother, just so we can use him as a TV antenna. Zapper is truly a selfless beacon of hope for the future of electro-cricket kind. So that was Zapper, and I'll forgive you if you still don't really get it. With its relentless and often unfair difficulty, uninspired concept, and somehow awkward controls, it's no surprise that this title was long forgotten. But at the same time, it's far from terrible. It has a lot of subtle polish and smart moments that it makes me think the team had a lot of fun making this game. I can always respect that. It was a personal project that was tackled with enjoyment and energy from the developers rather than just a cheap cash-in that the studio would later become known for.
Well, I guess it's back to hard games for me. I don't think I'll ever find that quick and simple experience I've been hoping for.
Holy crap, you made it to the end! Well, if you like that, you may like some of these other videos I've done. Go ahead and click those. But before you go, click subscribe in case I do something again.
Why are you still here?